It seems like, for some reason, JGR cannot stay out of the center of attention. This time, they've been there for some good reasons. JGR needed some new energy after the constant criticism for getting rid of Kyle Busch, and planning to do the same with Denny Hamlin while bringing in Ty as one of the most notorious drivers in the Xfinity Series. That is why they made an announcement that has shocked the world and all of the NASCAR fans, and we're down for it. NASCAR is a championship that keeps moving forward, and that is a well-known fact. This has been proven multiple times throughout the existence of the sport, with the latest addition being the next-gen car. While many people believe that the NASCAR sport made a bad decision, they were able to introduce another innovation, this time the electric Cup car. One of the first teams to jump on this project is JGR, with them and Toyota putting their forces together and assembling an electric Camry TRD. But the good news for you guys is that it's not for racing, at least not for now. As of now, JGR plans to use the electric Camry simply to practice, but all indications show that NASCAR is going to move in an eco-friendly direction, and this could be the new way of racing in the next couple of years. If this turns out to be the case, then JGR will have one of the biggest advantages on the field, given the fact that they've already started working on a project that has been officialized by NASCAR. So why did JGR build the electric Camry in the first place? For starters, they did it so that the pit crew would have the ability to practice without leaving the garage. On top of that, the team will save on fuel just to practice, and the car itself will be a huge push in the right direction for one of the most troublesome teams currently in NASCAR. While many people believe that the future of NASCAR is electrification, something that other racing competitions have already started to push towards, this is a very unlikely outcome in the next couple of years. However, it has not been completely eradicated. NASCAR could go electric sooner rather than later, and while many think that it's a bad thing to happen, others have started to adapt to a potential scenario such as JGR. How does the car look? It looks a lot like a next-gen Cup car, and it's very likely that it feels like one too, when it's jacked up to be practiced on. But with how much of an impact the fuel suppliers have in this sport, we still have no idea when the electrification process is going to happen, or if it's going to happen in the first place. Sunoco, NASCAR's official fuel of the sport, is not going away, and it's very likely that the traditional way will be the only way to keep things moving in NASCAR. Regardless of where the sport ends and where the electric movement goes with it, we are seeing versatility from NASCAR and a willingness to grow and learn. It's one thing to use fuel in the race, but it's a whole other thing to use it throughout practices, making the financial bills of the teams a lot higher than what we're expecting. From 2024 on, we are supposed to see hybrid powertrains, which is definitely a nudge in the right direction. If this turns out to be the case, then JGR is definitely getting ahead of the competition with the learning curve on new technologies. After all, JGR is a team that you would definitely expect this out of. They have the needed resources, and they definitely have the staff to pull this off. The real question is, how did the fans react to all of these changes? While many thought the fans would be delighted to move in this new direction, this is not the case with NASCAR's fans, as they've been angry to move from something that is already working perfectly well for the sport. The fans thought that JGR's production of an electric car was just a way to get one step closer to getting electric cars into the championship. It's evident that this is not a direction that the fans are happy to participate in, and while every change can be painful, this one will probably make the teams and the sport think twice before acting. A few people also maintained that they would be up for this idea, more precisely, inventing an electric Cup series, but only if it's a separate kind of series and not a replacement for the Cup series. Fans went to the extent of adding that auto racing dies if it goes any further than your pit practice. Other fans, however, were extremely happy that the NASCAR pit crew is now able to practice inside, adding that the speed of the fully electric vehicle is surely something strong, and it's not to be messed around with. If there is one competition that NASCAR can compare to what would happen if they went fully electric, that is definitely Formula E. While the organization may be happy that they've built a fully sustainable electric car and made a competition with it, it's evident that the speeds and the excitement are far from the real thing, which could be the final nail in the coffin for NASCAR. Obviously, we are going to witness some changes in the NASCAR sport that are long overdue, whether fans and teams like it or not. What is more interesting is the fact that everything starts with the practice car, and fans are scared that the first step is going to spiral into something that is much more than just a practice car or a separate electric Cup championship. As we mentioned earlier, all of the racing categories have made their own moves toward electrification, and this is something that NASCAR hasn't moved a muscle towards happening. While the 2024 move towards electrification and hybrid components of the car is far from what eco-friendly activists and other categories would want to be done. But still, one couldn't help but note that JGR is always the team that pushes in these directions first. Outside of debuting with the first electric NASCAR ride, JGR is moving into a new chapter of their existence. And this is something that could mean a lot of change for the team that is looking forward to winning the first championship after 2019. From next season on, they won't have the Candyman, Kyle Busch, as the driver who spent 18 years with JGR and is currently the last Cup Series winner from JGR, is leaving for Richard Childress Racing and being replaced by the owner's grandson, Ty Gibbs. Ty is the 2022 Xfinity Series champion and will go on to drive the number 54 for JGR in the Cup Series next year. And from Pocono to Phoenix, he had an opportunity to get a taste of how a Cup Series car performs by replacing Kurt Busch in 2311 racing. But it's far from a full-time stint and the expectations are not nearly the same. This is why Ty will have a much bigger challenge presented to him when it comes to proving that he is made out of starter material for the Cup Series. It goes without saying that his being the grandson of the owner just adds to the narrative that nothing is going to come easy for the young Xfinity Series champion. On top of that, JGR has to face consequences about how they planned to treat Denny Hamlin and his sponsorship with FedEx. It appears that Hamlin's days at JGR are numbered, and after 15 years, it's clear that his happiness and willingness to continue working with JGR are at an all-time low. But that is all in the future, and we have no idea what is going to happen in that team as of now. What is certain is that they are always ready to move in the right direction and are always proactive when situations like this emerge. As for NASCAR, the sport needs to be really careful because they are currently walking on eggshells with all the scandals revolving around the next-gen cars, the business model, and the TV media rights. Riots are just waiting to happen in this championship, and that is something that the sport needs to be very cautious about when it comes to satisfying one need and totally neglecting another. With all of this in mind, the following couple of years are going to be very interesting ones for NASCAR and especially for JGR, a team that hasn't really been in the positive spotlight in the past couple of months. What do you think about the fully electric Camry that has been produced by JGR? Let us know in the comments below.